How's it going, everybody? There's a cool picture of Lisa and I um, at our class reunion. And but let's go over to and bring up this of Coach. So Lisa and I didn't get to really talk to her. She did wave at me. Um, we got to wave at each other when they asked all people that had worked for Coach to stand up, and she turned around and she was looking at everybody, and I just started waving. And so she saw me and waved back. Nice smile, and it was really good to connect with her just for that moment. On, of course, the busiest day of her life. It was nothing like I just went through it with my son. There's so much going on when somebody you love so dearly has passed, and here you are, like performing on the stage at their memorial or their funeral. There's so much going on. So it was just good to connect just for those split seconds. And her and Charisse just did a fantastic job. Um, just the way they carried themselves and remembering their dad, and everybody did such a great job listening to Dakota McCarty, who a gigantic legend in the town, athlete. I had the honor of playing flag football with DeCoven briefly, a few years. And what an athlete he was, as he was a collegiate athlete at the University of Tampa. And if I'm not mistaken, he played with Freddie Solomon. And DeCoven, just listening to DeCoven's voice brought back those memories and the way he remembered Coach, and how much time he had spent at the Wiley's house, that they were like his second family, and how Lisa and Sharice were like his little sisters, and you could just see that and feel that. And again, I worked with all of them, but the Coven I worked with briefly because he was kind of moving on in life as I was coming there at the beach. Um, but Coach did help me keep my job there one time when things got a little dicey with uh, me making a pretty big mistake. And I shared that with some people there today. And it's a long story, so I'm not going to get into it here. But he stuck his neck out for me. Of course, he was the dictator, he was the man in charge. And he went against what he was being told by a lot of our collective. And he said, nope. And he took me out one on one to it was kind of like this building at the boat ramp, and took me in there one on one and talked to me for a good hour about his life, growing up in Georgia, what it was like, just things I never knew about him. And he made the conversation more about him. And I knew it was just to teach me um, perspective and lessons in life. And I got to keep my job. And obviously, it meant a lot to me. And Coach Lisa and I began our friendship without even knowing each other. We took swimming lessons from the same lady who made me the ring bearer in her wedding, and Lisa, the flower girl. From there, Lisa and I reconnected when I left Santa Fe and went to Auburndale um, junior high school, excuse me. And, but really connected at the beach, where she was a lifeguard and swim instructor. And I was just a lifeguard. So we had spent a good 3 years, I would say, there together. And, but Lisa and I also had the unique opportunity to also run track together for 3 years. And most of the track meets are male and female. Some are just male. So I would then, well, I don't know how many were co-ed, but Lisa and I spent a lot of time together at track meets where her dad was the starter. So there were all these different connections with Lisa, myself, not only, of course, being graduating class, and we all sat at the same table at our class reunion, which was special, our 40th that we just had in 2019. But Coach Wiley was the starter. And so he was at every single track meet, basically, that I was ever at, 80% of them anyway. And Lisa maybe 60% or 70%, any of them that were co-ed. Of course, Lisa was an amazing hurdler, and she spoke to running hurdles about her dad training her. But Lisa was an amazing track athlete with the women's 110-yard hurdles. And what else? Let me see. I do remember I never won a track meet. I never came in first, or at least was always coming in first. Except for one track meet, I came in first my senior year. It was 400 yard, 440. It's now the 400 meters, but it was a 440-yard dash. And it was a thing called the Winter Haven Track Classic. They had just gotten their new track, and I won the 440. And I remember coming across the finish line and coach yelling, "Great job," because he had never seen me win anything before. And so, how do you win the Winter Haven Track Classic 440-yard dash when you've never won anything before, but yet you won at this gigantic meet? Well, let me tell you why. All the guys that used to smoke me, and some of them were outstanding, they would go all the way to state. Our county was very strong in track at that time, very strong in track. And it was because all the ones that were beating me, since it was such a big track meet, you get more points through relay races. So they were pulling all of these great 440 athletes and putting them into various relay races, mile relay. There were all these other different kind of relays where you'd run somebody would run a 110, somebody would run a 220, then a 330 and a 440, or then there was the 440. And then maybe some of them for a third event, maybe they ran the 220 instead or something. I don't know what happened, but I was in there with a lot of sophomores and juniors. So as the senior, I actually won. And there's a photo of me turning the corner. There were two Haines City guys in that finals, and they were both sophomores. I remember that. And so, but coach was just ecstatic that I came across the finish line to where he yelled, "Great job." And it stuck in my head that I can remember him yelling that or saying that. And then he had the Florida Gator track coach meet me. He literally goes, "I'm going to have you meet the Florida Gator track coach," as if I would get some kind of scholarship or something. And the guy comes over and talks to me about a scholarship and I have to look at my this or that. Total just giving me respect. I was nowhere near any kind of records or times. I had nothing remotely close to any types of times that would have gotten me a scholarship, let alone even walking on at the University of Florida's track team. Not even close. But coach told me he was going to introduce me to the Florida Gator track coach, and he did. And the Florida Gator track coach literally gave me his time and acted like he was interested in me, that he needed to just like, "Hey, I'll look into it. I'd like to see more about you." Never heard from him again. I didn't pay it any never mind. I think I was accepted to the University of Florida. I ended up not going um, for various decisions I made off personal reasons. And so, um, would I have tried to walk on the track team? Maybe. But I'd have been carrying a water bucket or Gatorade bucket. But that's just, that's kind of my life with Coach Wiley and just always seeing him. One thing that was not brought up, which I would like to eulogize, two things. The way he would, when he would blow the whistle and call you over with his finger, that he needed to talk to you and you knew you might have been in a little trouble or something like, he was going to coach you up, is he would start, he would grab a hold of his belt line and like kind of pulling up his drawers a little bit. Just it was like a tick. And that's when you knew uh it was serious if he started pulling at that line a little bit. But the other thing was that was not brought up that always stuck with me, and there's no real reason to bring this up, but Coach taught me what liability was, that everything was about insurance and lawsuits. And when we were lifeguards, he was like, people are trying to sue the city constantly. Don't give them a reason to sue the city. So everything about our job was based off liability, 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 liability. And so that took me on to no matter what profession I did for the rest of my life, liability was always in the back of my mind. And so that stuck with me. And lastly, what was the other thing? Hang on, brain fog. Oh, and nobody mentioned how he was a staple at Red Sox games. I mean, when it came to spring training, I mean, I don't care what his job, city recreation director, whatever, he was making those Red Sox games and then Indians games after he retired. He loved baseball. He played college baseball. I was reminded of that. But man, did he love the game of baseball. Football is one thing. Roll Tide, like he loved Alabama football, even though he was born in Georgia, and I'm pretty sure raised in Georgia. Um, before playing ball at Troy, and I think they said he played semi-pro ball for the Cardinals. Um, if I heard that right, I think so. But he um he was a staple. Anytime I ever got tickets, or if my mom hooked me up with tickets, or anytime I went to a Red Sox game, he had a very certain place where he sat, and he was there. He might have been having a beer and a hot dog, but I'm going to tell you something, man. He loved America's pastime. He sure did. So, yeah, he was just iconic for all of us. And I love listening to everything everybody said. I just wanted to pay my respects personally. All right. Love you all very much. Love you, Lisa. Love you, Sharice.